Bet on your tiny, tiny castle. Bet on your tiny, tiny dream. Bet on your tiny, tiny businesses. Bet on, bet on, bet on, bet on you. Bet on, bet on, bet on, bet on you. Why you bet on strangers? Strangers pass on through. You should bet on neighbors, cause neighbors bet on you. Your tiny, tiny barbershop. Bet on you. Oh, your tiny, tiny beauty shop. Bet on you. Oh, your tiny, tiny auto shop. Bet on you. Yeah, your tiny, tiny flower shop. Bet on you. You need to bet on them just like they bet on you. You need to bet on them just like they bet on you. They bet the sweat on your sweat, child. Bet on you. They bet their heart on your heart now. Bet on you. They bet their life on your life, child. Bet on you. They bet their house on your house, child. Bet on you. You need to bet on them just like they bet on you. Oh, you need to bet on them just like they bet on you. Oh, bet on you. Bet on you. Yeah, bet on you.
Okay, I see. My name is Victoria Moore, and on behalf of conNECKtedTOO, Tiny is Powerful, I just want to welcome everyone and thank you for being here. Tiny is Powerful involves artists, cultural workers, youth, and tiny business partners to support and promote tiny business in the South as a vital part of commerce and neighborhood, to fully embrace the arts and the spirit of the arts as activators of sustainability, and to build a mentorship program that awakens in youth a spirit of entrepreneurship and civic engagement. We believe that art and tiny business are nimble, adaptable, profitable for the people, and that belonging means celebrating many histories and cultures and becoming all we can together. For us, collaboration means reciprocity, shared ownership, and autonomy. And today we're here for a live recording of the I Like My Tea Sweet podcast. So this episode is being recorded. If you're more comfortable, you're welcome to turn your videos off or change the usernames by hitting the 3 dots. If you need help or support with that, let me know. And then these recordings will be uploaded to SoundCloud, YouTube, and available along with other episodes at TINYisPOWERFUL.com. And lastly, I just want to invite, if you'd like to continue the conversation or respond to anything that you hear, you can go to something to share at TINYisPOWERFUL.com, and you can contribute a blog post to the reservoir. It can be short or long, and you can just contribute your voice to the conversation in that way if you like. And with that, I'd like to introduce Rain.
Hey everyone, I'm Rainey, and I'm one of the co-leaders on I Like My Tea Sweet, a podcast that's focused on issues and topics surrounding Charleston and the greater area. Today marks the start of a 5-episode series where we explore the 5 healths of mental, emotional, physical, social, and spiritual. And to coincide with this topic, we would like for everyone to list what they do to stay healthy and to reflect on the different aspects of their health. Starting with today's focus, mental health. And as always, this is a conversation, so all are welcome to engage. Leading us through this discussion is Brae Richardson. Ms. Richardson is the owner of Brae Richardson LLC, a company that specializes in events, PR, business consulting, and social media management. She has helped to bring in celebrities like Dave Chappelle, he is a comedy king, and Odell Beckham, and has worked with popular brands like Veuve Clicquot. And I had to research how to pronounce this because I had no idea.
You did great.
Thank you. As of late, her focus has been mental health. So with that, what would you say mental health means to you, Miss Brae?
Mental health means to me is basically putting myself as a priority, saying no, making sure that, you know, certain things just kind of align with how I'm feeling, and making sure things are not bringing me any stress or just anxiety. So as of lately, I've really been kind of just focusing on things that make me happy, using that no word a lot, focusing and going to therapy. You know, we're living in such a hectic time. So just making sure that I'm just all in all still putting myself as a priority. That's what mental health means to me. I like to ask you all the same thing. Like, what does mental health mean to you all?
I think I will kind of echo being aware of stress and anxiety and recognizing that, and also being aware of positive emotions like happiness and joy, and being aware of specific things that bring that.
Yeah. I think that's important too, just kind of like knowing, not obviously you want to know what your triggers are, but you also want to know what are things that make me happy. So like, you know, I try to work out and early in the morning. I haven't been doing that for the last 2 weeks. So I'm like, why am I so on edge, or why am I just so easily irritated? So I think that's important too, just like making sure that you know what also makes you happy, and doing those things more often, and making those things a priority. Rain, what does that mean to you?
I would say learning less to oppress my emotions. When I get negative emotions, my thought process is often to think this will pass, so don't concentrate on it.
Right.
But I've learned that it's important to, when you feel those negative emotions, to not try to like avoid them, but to say, why am I feeling this negative emotion? What is this telling me? You know?
Yeah. I should have started this off, but I guess how are you guys feeling? How are you guys dealing with COVID? The state of the world. How are you really feeling? I should have definitely opened with that to ask how everyone is, but just like anything in particular people are feeling, or just like kind of just like in a state of uncertainty, or like how are you guys feeling?
Uh, Definitely weird.
Mhm.
um, it's it's been both a thing to try to find normality, I suppose. A lot of people are using the word normality and normancy and stuff like that, and I'm just like, I just want I just want to feel safe, you know.
Right.
Um, just the
That's
other day, I think just the other day sums up how I feel. There was this sort of protesters outside of my job.
mhm.
They were of course outside, and none of them had any mask on, and they were like, hey, what other liberties are they going to take away from us? And all I could not help but to think was, how many of you have like health insurance and backup if you catch COVID?
Right.
um, and a lot of them, I don't want to categorize people, but a lot of them look like they were middle class, and like they may have had that backing and insurance. But to people like me who are in like the lower income bracket, it's I don't have that.
I can't risk, yeah, you can't risk what they can risk.
I just feel as if it's a lack of consideration towards others,
Yeah.
just for what can be considered a very small inconvenience.
Yeah.
That feeling of like wanting to feel safe, like I really appreciate that. I don't think I'd even thought of it in that terms, but yeah, wanting to feel safe probably is true for me too.
Yeah, and I think that's a good descriptive description of like wanting to feel safe, because it's like, I think for me, speaking personally, it's kind of like, dang, I gotta wear a mask to protect myself, but also just have to be mindful of, you know, interactions with the police, like all of that. So like saying that just wanting to feel safe, that's huge. And so I don't know, I think I've kind of like gotten in my head of the idea of like, we're probably never going to be normal again. And I think that's something that I've been kind of just coping and dealing with, and like, you know, just trying to kind of, what is the word I'm looking for? I guess see myself through that and just be like, okay, this is our new normal. Like, we have to do things differently now. We have to just be more mindful. So yeah.
I think something, if I'm honest, sometimes I feel these little bubblings of anger. And so I'm learning also not to repress them, but also learning not to totally submit to them either.
That's a good one.
Yeah, I mean, there are people on my social media feed, like,
say that social media will make you so
this one woman posted a status drawing a relationship between the murder of George Floyd and the Hillary Clinton emails. And that was her statement. That was the first time I avoid people's comment sections. I don't want to get into it. I don't want to entertain it. But I saw that, and it was the first time that I had to just say to this person who I know, you know, how disappointed I was
that's the first one you have to call them out on social media. I think that was my biggest, like when we had protests in Charleston, I was very, like when everything happened, waking up the next day, I wasn't even like, I think I felt more anxiety reading people's ignorant comments, because I knew that I would be looking down my timeline of people that I knew. And I'm like, oh, we got to call it out. We got to have a conversation. So yeah, social media is very triggering. And then it's just with COVID too. It's like you want to stay away from social media, but it's very hard because things are, you know, we have limited activities, and you have to kind of, you know, find new things to do. And like, so it's a hard, social media is a hard line, I guess, to kind of not.
COVID took some of my freedom away. I felt a bit like a prisoner.
Yeah.
Not being able to open my house to everybody, and which was never the case. The door was always open. And at the same time, not to be able to go outside too much because I'm not young and I have a lungs problem. So I was becoming a prisoner. Yeah. But when the protests came, and that freed me in a way, because it brought me back to, in a way, the protests of 1968, the power of the youth, all kind of memories that said, okay, some people are very active.
Yeah.
Because it didn't come only of the awful death and murder of George Floyd, but it came also of the people who were ready for saying what they had in their mind together or talk, you know. And especially in Charleston, the only protest we knew was the one from the nurse strike years and years ago.
Yeah, I think that was, and I think that's something, or a reason why I feel like the city was just, I don't want to say shaken up, but it's very abnormal for what happened that night to happen in Charleston. Because I mean, like, I mean, even just from Emmanuel, like, we thought something, and Walter Scott, we thought something. So I think that was very, you know, very abnormal for for us to see that.
Personally, I had to unfollow someone um, because of the protests, because I scrolling down my Instagram, right, and there's someone that I mutually follow, um, writes, "I'm glad I have the ability to have a gun," and um, and hashtags all life matters, and I'm just like, oh, block. I just could not deal with it at that time, so I just screenshotted it and just blocked.
Yeah, you got a screenshot, take those, you know, I too had to like obviously unfriend, but I also made a decision business wise to kind of cut ties with certain people, because I think for me, I was kind of like, okay, we're living in a time of either you are on this side or this side, and I want to be clear where you stand, and I want to, you know, I want to know who I'm doing business with. So that was a thing. Just one, seeing people and their ignorant comments, and then two, I want to know what side you're standing on. And so I also had to make, you know, cut ties from business decisions. But a lot of that at that point was, even though that was George Floyd's death was kind of like a distraction, quote unquote, from COVID. But that, I know for me, was just like, I just got sucked into watching the news, and I was just getting really like mentally drained. But like, it was kind of like you didn't want to look away from it because you wanted to like be in the know. So I think, yeah. So it's just been a weird time. But in the same breath, I'm also very grateful and thankful, and a lot of time to like self-reflect and kind of like, you know, kind of think on things of like what I need to do for self to make me mentally stronger, and kind of, you know, focus on Brae. What are some of the things that you all have been doing, I guess, positive wise, that you've kind of just made sure like you've been mentally healthy?
Doing my laundry. It's it's something that I do usually, and what everyone should do their laundry usually. But it's an activity that, surprisingly enough, I look forward to doing it because I need clothes. Um, you know, and the normalcy of it, like even with all of the stuff going on, I can still do my laundry, and I just think that kind of levels me out a little bit.
Yeah, and it helps because I remember like I feel like, well, Victoria knows, so like right when COVID like kind of like sparked in Charleston, we came off of the wine and food festival, and I was like, oh, I can organize and clean, and so then I'm like, oh, I like being organized how I used to be now, or like things are clean and I can like, okay, I need to go through this and like donate these things. So yeah, that is a good one. Washing clothes, it's important. Anybody else?
Well, in a way, there was so many things like that I could do that, but I didn't feel like doing them. um, because again, in a way, I lost my freedom. So even if I know there is so much that I can do and that I would like to do, so many books around that I need to look at again, um, so many things that have not been cleaned for quite a few years. Um, and it's also my studio, so I have also all kind of project I can do. It took me a couple of months to really feel okay with that and not be in a way in the pain of not being able to go outside and go and see people. I mean, I could go outside and walk, that I do that, but go and see people in their shops. Go and see the tiny businesses we were trying to work with. And be forced to use Zoom and telephone a lot is not so easy for everybody. it's a different type of relationship.
Yeah. How are you feeling now since things like for you? Because I know you mentioned just kind of feeling like a prisoner. Like, how are you feeling now as things are starting to open? Like, are you feeling a little bit more at ease? Are you like wanting to go out? Are you still kind of like hesitant? Have you kind of like made more attempts to like do things more? Like, what's your perspective on that?
I'm still very hesitant
Yeah.
unless I know the people and I know they are careful and worried about, obviously, the pandemic. Um, I'm not sure everybody is as worried or careful all around. So, no, I don't go to the crowd. I wear a mask, yeah. I do some shopping sometimes now, food shopping. Um, let's say I'm more relaxed now because now my priorities are straight. I know what I can do, what I should do, not to lose that time. Not, you know, time is always something that is offered. When it's available, it's great, you know.
Yeah.
So many often it's time or money. So when you have time, you cannot just lose it without feeling even worse.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I continue to do some artwork, and I'm sure it's very good for mental health at the same time, although it's not directly related, but a practice um, that ones know pretty well or still has a lot of investment in it. Um, keep your mind straight, even if it's slow for a while, if the mind is slow.
Yeah. Victoria, you want to chime in on anything?
Yes. Can you guys hear me? I'm having some technical things.
Yeah.
I think that okay. I think one thing I've been doing for my mental health is I journal. So I'm always kind of analyzing and evaluating my own thoughts. It's been interesting navigating the pandemic and the current social realities, and also everyday stressors, you know, maintaining a household, maintaining a family, you know, taking care of bills, still planning for the future. So to keep myself from getting very, very overwhelmed, I've just been keeping a journal.
Yeah.
I also did one of the family art lessons where we were making things with our hands, and that was good for me. I discovered that collaging is pretty therapeutic. Just finding words, images, putting them together. I like that process. And then I also recently started looking into what it might be like to work with a therapist. You know, I do have a little bit of health insurance coverage that might work for that.
Therapy is my jam. That is my so initially when I moved to Charleston, I found a therapist and I went to 3 sessions. They were horrible each time, but I was like, I'm gonna go because my mom had suggested it, and you know, the fact that she told me that she went, I was like, what? And so the third time I was just like, this is just not for me. We were not connecting. I didn't feel like racially she understood just Black-ish. Like I didn't think that she could relate to some of the things that I was going through, because at that time I was, you know, I'd moved here. It was very, very different for me being a Black woman and being in the downtown Charleston scene. For me, Charleston was the epitome of Black and white. And, you know, I grown up in Charlotte. I had seen Black entrepreneurship. So not really experiencing that here was just a lot, amongst other things. So I was just like, therapy is just not for me. So maybe I had taken a break from that maybe 2-3 years. And then finally I found a Black therapist. She is everything. She's everything. And therapy is not super cliche as people may think. I feel a lot of the times when I'm having issues with things or just like need additional, like, I'm like, give me the answers. No, we're talking it through, and like, I'm coming with my own answers. And our favorite thing is like, you always had it always was within you. Like you know, you come up with your answer. I'm just helping you get there. Or, you know, if I'm just having an anxiety moment, she helps through that. So I started getting into mental health because I'm like, I want all my people, all Black people to heal. I'm really into that. Like, I think that I can only imagine if we were to heal or just have that extra push, how much farther we could be. Because I noticed the difference in me healing. I'm happier, I'm healthier inside and out. And so I don't know, like, therapy is also another thing that's helped me through COVID. It's also helped me through my super busy, stressful days. So I don't know. I feel like I'm a therapy advocate. I think that is great that you were looking into that. Kudos to you, girl. You're gonna love it. You are going to be like, this is the thing that I've always wanted. And like, I know for me, there were so many things in my life that I didn't realize that I had suppressed, or I didn't think, oh, I never dealt with this thing. And like, you know, so you deal with it, you go through it, and then, you know, you start seeing some like, okay, I can handle life more. Like, and I can talk myself through stuff. So I will say that's a challenge for me too. Doing therapy through Zoom though, because I'm like, I don't know, sometimes I get a little distracted. So I think, I don't know, it's weird. Therapy through Zoom, I am like having to get better with that and like understand that this is a thing now. We got to Zoom it. That's just it. But other than that, I'm a therapy advocate. I think everyone should do it. And I like that my therapist, like, she's, like I said, she's Black and she wants Black people to heal, and she believes in that. So she makes things affordable. So I don't know. Has anyone else been to therapy? You're more than welcome to share if you feel comfortable sharing, but like, what are some like perspectives on therapy? Did you have any like horror stories from therapy? Anybody?
I think if I could add like one thing for listeners, I wish that, so I know like things like insurance and costs can be like a barrier that can be prohibitive to a lot of people. And I don't have all the answers for that, but I know that when I went to college, I did not take advantage of the fact that part of my tuition included like X number of sessions with the therapist on campus.
This is what, and we need to because I had no idea of that either until one of my white peers was like, girl, you didn't use that in school? I was like, no. And I'm like, y'all been going to therapy since college? I'm like, yes. I'm like, so I think like these are things that we got to just like really start to, you know, spread that word, because I had no idea of that either. And I was like, oh, I could have been a little bit better in my adulthood. Could have been a little, you know, but I mean, yeah, that's a good point. I did not know that either. So that was a great point.
I've actually personally been thinking about doing therapy.
Mm-hmm.
in my family, when you say therapist, they're like the shrink, and I'm like, oh, no, 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 family.
No, family. No, you right. They do. I still kind of introduced it to my grandmother, but like it is just sometimes you just like we're not even gonna cross that bridge because because they say shrink. And also be confident in your therapist journey. Don't let anybody tell you that that you're crazy or you don't need it or to pray it away. Prayer changes a lot of things, but I also am a believer in therapy as well.
Well, I mean, it's kind of like medicine. Like if you read the ingredients of your medicine bottle, it's not just made with one ingredient. You need multiple ingredients to feel well.
That's a good point. That's a great point. But you do like that's why I'm like prayer, exercise, therapy. Those are like my thing, and then eating healthy as well. Like I get real all over the place if I'm just like not being mindful of like what I put in my body. So those are things that are just just taking it back to mental health. Like those are things that just help me be mentally healthy. And sometimes like if I'm not taking, just like you said, just like medicine, like if I'm not taking the correct dose of XYZ, then I'm off balance. So like if I don't have my correct dose of therapy once a month or whatever, like I'm off balance. If I'm not eating correctly, if I'm not working out, I'm off balance. So that was a great analogy. That was great.
Well, when I was young, therapy was like luxury.
Mm-hmm.
So it was not even something we think about it, or we could think about it. And psychologically, I cannot say it was a shrink, but you were still told, okay, you have not gone to war yet. So maybe after war you can come. But, that was really, that was not even a conversation in a way. But maybe that was the beginning of all the development of those possibilities, and even considering mental health as health and not mental problem. So I think that's, I don't know. I don't think I feel free to do any, and I at the moment, but I feel free to tell people maybe you can find a good therapist to help you.
I think that's something that I'm also excited to see, like even generations after us, like how I think the generation under us, I think they are like a force to be reckoned with. I think that specifically like me and Victoria's generation, like we're working out the kinks, but I think the generation under us, I think that they are going to be a force to be reckoned with because I think they're educated, they are aware, they know what they want. I've just seen a lot of like younger kids, especially like the kids going into college now, just like really into their history and like all of them, just like what's right and what's wrong. And so on the mental aspect, I'm really excited to see how the norm of therapy will be for them, and just like the importance of putting their mental health first and making that a priority. Like I'm excited to see like the generation under us, because I think they're going to be like amazing. I think they're going to be really, really out of this world when it comes to just, things, just piggybacking on Miss Gwen, just like things that were not as normal.
And I really believe that for youth, very young kids, it's better to start with some therapy before starting pills.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I agree. I want to vocalize my strong agreement with that, for sure.
Good.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. What was I going to say? I forgot what I was going to say. I went like super blank. Does anybody else have anything in terms of like therapy or questions on just like when it comes to just mental health and I guess what that means to you all?
How do we go about like talking to other people who don't believe that it's something that should be concentrated on? Like, how do we when someone starts talking about mental health and someone's just like, oh, you're just being over dramatic or you're just being sensitive about this? How do we go about being like, fam, that's kind of a harmful concept?
I think I'll explain how I deal with stuff like that. I used to take it just really personal because I'm like, this is something that's passionate to me and like we should all have therapy and da da da. But like, it's kind of like just the state of our culture right now. Either you with it or you not. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of like that mentality of like, there's this meme of Harriet Tubman where it's like, you know, I can't argue with somebody who Harriet Tubman would have left. It's kind of like you either coming with me or you not, and you just like deal with it like that. And you know, those who want to learn more and want to progress and want to just get, you know, focus on their mental health and get mentally healthy, like you bring them along with you and you have those conversations with those people. But some people you can't focus on that. Like some people, like as brash as that may sound, like some people are, I think that's like the pro and con and the beauty of our world, right? Because everyone's so different. And so you respect people for their mind and their opinion and their perspective. But like, if you ain't on this train, I can only hope and pray that you get there one day. I guess that's my perspective on it. What's yours? Like, I don't know. I used to be so focused on just things like that, or people not understanding my perspective or like agreeing with my opinion. Like, we don't got time for that.
Well,
Yeah, I agree.
sorry. I'm sorry. Well, part of like the reason I bring it up is, you know, there's that one friend in the group where everyone tells their problems to, and they treat them like a therapist, but they're not willing to go to an actual therapist. And sometimes it happens in rounds. Like sometimes you're that friend, sometimes someone else is that friend.
Yeah.
But usually I was that friend that people would tell their problems to, and I'm like, there's someone who's better suited to helping you with this. Um, I don't know if this is like something I should go see someone about, but I have like an emotional disconnect sometimes. So someone would talk about something highly emotional, and I'm like, fam, I just have no connection to what you're talking about. So I look at things from like when I'm giving advice from a logical standpoint, but sometimes that's not the best standpoint, or sometimes I'm only looking at it from my perspective when a therapist has been trained to look at it from multiple perspectives.
Right. Two things. One, what's your sign?
I'm a Gemini.
Ooh, girl. Okay. Do you feel like maybe your upbringing makes you like you don't have that emotional attachment to things? Do you feel like, see, I am emotional, and I don't know where I get it from at all, because my mom is the same way. She, like, you could tell she is the epitome of, like, I feel like I'm a problem solver, but she looks at things like, well, it's not that bad. I mean, you'll figure it. Like, she's very cut and dry with things, and I hate that. Like, I want to have a little dramatic meltdown first in the corner, and then I'm a boss up, and I'll be good. But do you feel like that was something that, like, maybe your upbringing, your family has, like, are they very, like, they don't show too much emotion?
I would say, yeah, my mom, like my mom and my grandma, they weren't really like ones for like showing stuff like sensitivity or anything like that.
Yeah.
So for me, it was like, I'm not going to do it. And like when it comes to crying, like I don't think I've ever really seen my grandmother cry, like maybe once.
Yeah.
I've only seen my mom like cry like a couple of times, but it was something really serious before like she would start tearing up. So I've gotten the mentality that it's got to be really serious before I start like showing like emotion.
And I mean, the same thing, like my grandmother and my mother, like, no, that's why I'm just like, I don't know where I got this from, because I'm just like, I want to talk about it. And I like when people talk to me or I'm having a conversation with someone about something that I'm passionate about, I do want to talk to people who have emotion. But I mean, also, I know you mentioned like you're that go-to person that friends come to. That's greatness. That's powerful. That's still like, I always say, like, I'm always thankful that my friends and people in my life that I really care about, like, trust me with their business, like, trust me with telling them personal things. So that's still pretty powerful that you are that person for people. But I also find it interesting. So you feel like you're not emotional, but what made you be like, okay, maybe I should go see a therapist, or just even toy, or even want to explore that idea?
It was after I left, like my 4 years. So I was only able to stay at my 4 year for about a semester. And
Okay.
after that, I was just like very depressed, like because schooling and academics had always been the center. And for it to no longer be my center kind of pushed me into an existential crisis. For like 2 months, I was like barely able to like function as even as I like am now. I was like not functioning mentally, physically, nothing. And so that made me realize that maybe I should see a therapist,
Yeah.
because I'm still feeling the effects of that even today. And it's been at least a year or so.
Yeah. I think that's one, that you recognize that's it. You got it. You just got to like find your person, just put that effort into finding that therapist, because that was like something similar situation. And you start kind of just like, one day you're like, dang, I'm still kind of feeling the effects of like trauma, and like, something that I dealt with was like trusting people. And so I'm like, these are traumatic things that have happened. So recognizing that, I think that's major. So you've already like, checked one box off. You just got to, put in that effort to go, like, find someone that you're comfortable with. And like, really, really, like, whenever you take that step, like, it's okay to try multiple people. But the biggest thing is just to make sure that you're comfortable. And like I said, you're recognizing that you want to heal, essentially.
I would say that work for me was really the place, and mostly artistic work or artistic related work. But any work, in a way, was a way for me to keep centered. And that mostly because of the other people. And that was my way to meet and understand people who I had not been in contact with while I was just a young person, let's say until 15-year-old, 16-year-old. And so going to school, to art school, because that's the way it was, college, was one way to, and I was always attracted by people very different from me. So that was like, it was bringing and feeding me what I was missing, even if I could not talk and was very shy at the first for a long time.
I think like also, so I'm looking into therapy for myself too, and trying to find someone who I feel comfortable talking with. But similar to something that was just said, I think relationships with people in my life and starting to become more confident and comfortable with sharing my true, my true self, my true feelings, my true experiences, just being comfortable enough to be open with that, just in general with people who I share my life with, has been helpful to me too. Because you find that people can relate with you and connect with you in ways that you maybe couldn't have imagined if you had kept it to yourself.
I think that's really important, just being that you touched on that, because I know especially in the Black community, like we don't, talk about certain things and talk about certain feelings. And I think just like what I was saying to Rain about, I'm just thankful for people in my life that trust me with their information and vice versa. Like that means a lot to me. But I've noticed that we're able to just relate on just life-ish. Like life gets hard, life gets difficult, life is draining, life can be depressing. And so like when you talk to people in your life and y'all are able to connect and live your truth, like I feel like you have, I feel like some of my friends are my therapists because we've had like those healing experiences. And I think like things like that, just exactly what you referenced, are important. And I think, I don't know, like that was a good reference too. But I know that we're like almost time, but I really wanted to maybe like go around, encourage like one thing, or what is one thing next week that you all will do that will promote your mental health, if that makes sense, or something that you will do for your mental that's positive. Like what's one thing that you vow or promise Brae that you will do to just, I'm going to put me first. I'm going to put my mental health first.
Well, there was this podcaster that Aysha introduced me to, who's a Black woman therapist, and part of what I want to do is like listen to some of her episodes and hear her take on therapy and mental health. So that's one thing that I would do.
Perfect.
I think I would listen back to what is recorded today.
That's a good one. That's a good one. I think you're on mute. Maybe. Is she?
I think we're experiencing technical difficulties.
Yeah. Type it in.
Okay. I will try to recognize when I'm being triggered by. Oh.
So I don't know if everyone can hear her, but she typed.
I'm on. I don't know. Technology is not my friend today. No.
It's okay. I don't know if anyone could hear her, but I'll just read out a response. So she said, Victoria said, recognizing my triggers and not becoming anxious or angry by things I can't control. That's a good word. Things I cannot control. What is it? You can't control the uncontrollables. I'm a little baby control freak, so I definitely empathize with that. I think something that I'm going to do to promote my mental health and make me a priority is I'm going to read. I have not been able to do that. So I'm gonna make a conscious effort to actually start tomorrow to read. And really, I've read a few things, but I just kind of like really want to just have a good reading day, like a day. So that's what I'm going to do.
Alrighty, well, Brae, we would really like to thank you for leading today's discussion. We really appreciate the work that you do and how you influence our communities and enrich our communities. Where can listeners or other conversators connect and learn more about you and your businesses?
So you can follow me on all social media platforms at Brae Richardson. So that's BRAE, and my last name is Richardson. Basically, you can find me anywhere on there. So I also have a podcast, an events page, and my personal Instagram page, and my Facebook page. My email is info@braerichardson.com. If you just want to email me, that's my favorite thing to do. I love email. So that's my best point of contact. But yeah, so all those that I just named, you should be able to find me on there.
Alrighty. Well, I'm going to do the end information for the podcast if everyone's good. Alrighty. All right. Do you live in Charleston or the greater area? Well, if you do, we'd love for you to host a future episode of I Like My Tea Sweet, a podcast about issues and topics surrounding our community. For more information about hosting or to offer topic suggestions, email tinyispowerful@gmail.com. You can also respond or add to today's conversation about mental health by sending your thoughts via the Something to Share section at TINYisPOWERFUL.com.
On you. Bet on you. Why you bet on strangers? Strangers pass on through. You should bet on neighbors, cause neighbors bet on you. Your tiny barbershop. Bet on you. Oh, your tiny beauty shop. Bet on you. Oh, your tiny auto shop. Bet on you. Yeah, your tiny flower shop. Bet on you. You need to bet on them just like they bet on you. You need to bet on them just like they bet on you. They bet their sweat on your sweat, child. Bet on you. They bet their heart